Good morning everyone, selamat pagi. Apa kabarnya semua? Semoga semua kabarnya baik-baik. And first of all, I want to say welcome to the Indonesia Community Education Festival 2026. Di sini aku melihat sudah banyak banget teman-teman yang join. Boleh nih teman-teman kalau misalnya kalian tidak berhalangan untuk open camera supaya kita bisa sama-sama enjoy this event together dan juga bisa sama-sama tahu teman-teman itu dari mana sih dan juga bisa lihat satu sama lain. We warmly welcome all participants who have joined us from across Indonesia and around the world. Kemarin saat pendaftaran kita udah melihat banyak banget teman-teman yang antusias untuk daftar di Indonesia Community Education Festival ini dan bukan cuma dari kota-kota besar saja tapi juga dari kota-kota kecil. Di sini aku juga udah melihat kalau misalnya di chatbox ada yang dari Semarang, ada yang dari Jogja, ada yang Jakarta, Tangerang. Banyak banget nih teman-teman. Mungkin sambil nunggu juga, aku pengen lihat dong teman-teman boleh kenalin diri di kolom chat supaya kita bisa lihat kalian dari mana. Dan juga kenapa sih pengen ikut acara ICEF tahun ini. Siapa tahu bisa jadi kenalan dan juga dapat network yang baru nih teman-teman. Wow, ada yang dari Makassar, Pekalongan, Padang. Ada dari Jepara. Wah, bener-bener banyak banget ya teman-teman. Dan di sini ada salah satu teman aku juga dari panitia Indonesia Community Education Festival yang sudah memberikan virtual background di kolom chat. So if you guys are free, kalian boleh banget untuk menyalakan kamera dan juga menggunakan virtual background yang sudah kami sediakan supaya kita bisa belajar bersama-sama bareng ya teman-teman. Ada juga dari Tangsel, Pontianak, Binjai, Sumatera Utara, Surabaya. Wow, keren banget nih teman-teman. Boleh kali ya mungkin kita kasih reaction applause dulu buat teman-teman semua karena hari ini di hari Sabtu, hari weekend, tapi kalian semua udah berani untuk hadir. Kalian semua mau belajar bareng-bareng dan juga pastinya mau membuat perubahan yang baik bagi education di Indonesia nih teman-teman. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Reformers, don't forget boleh nyalain kamera, boleh pakai virtual backgroundnya supaya kita bisa sama-sama saling melihat satu sama lain. Sini aku udah lihat banyak juga nih yang open camera. Thank you so much teman-teman. Please get ready to enjoy this extraordinary moment with us. Because today we are gathering together to celebrate something truly fundamental, yaitu education. At the Indonesia Community Education Festival, with a theme, a celebration of learning from, by, and for the people, I'm Darlene, and it is my honor to accompany you in this opening ceremony. Please feel free again to introduce yourself. Aku melihat juga masih ada yang dari Bandung, dari Karawang, dari Jambi. Dan aku senang juga karena teman-teman antusias banget nih di acara ini. Udah aktif banget walaupun masih pagi-pagi. So please keep the excitement up karena selama 2 hari ke depan bener-bener akan banyak banget insights dan juga pelajaran yang bisa teman-teman dapatkan dari semua speakers dan juga keynote session serta workshop yang ada di ICEF 2026. Teman-teman, thank you so much sekali lagi karena sudah hadir. Mungkin aku ingin menjelaskan sedikit apa sih itu sebenarnya Indonesia Community Education Festival 2026. Nah, the Indonesia Community Education Festival 2026, or what we call ICEF, is a collaborative virtual workshop festival organized by the Indonesian Institute for Education Reform in collaboration with our amazing workshop co-conveners, the Habibie Center, Urundaya Kota, Timur Network, and also Kriya Global. Moreover, we really appreciate the support from the communities, especially Child and Youth Friendly Governance Project, Plan Indonesia, Kurio Academy, and all of the stakeholders who have believed in making change through reforming education system to be more inclusive and comprehend. Mungkin di sini aku pengen tanya teman-teman, apakah ada yang udah tahu tentang tentang Indonesian Institute of Education Reform sebelumnya? Mungkin kalau misalnya teman-teman udah pernah dengar, boleh dong type juga di kolom komentar atau mungkin kasih reaction tanda jempol deh gitu supaya aku bisa tahu kira-kira teman-teman tahu acara ini tuh dari mana sih? Apakah dari teman-teman atau dari keluarga? Apakah dari Instagram? Oh, oke, ada beberapa banyak juga ya yang udah tahu. So happy to see you guys excited dan juga udah pengen belajar lebih lagi tentang education di Indonesia. Dan teman-teman, over the course of 2 full days ke depan, 2 hari ini, kita akan explore 4 major themes atau 4 tema besar di acara ini, yaitu education rights, youth participation, social mobility, and also creativity and innovation. Nah, karena ada 4 tema nih, yaitu education rights, youth participation, social mobility, and creativity and innovation, boleh dong aku kasih tahu juga di chat box kira-kira kalian itu excited untuk panel session yang mana nih? Di sini udah kita bisa lihat ada beberapa panel speakers yang ada di share screen kali ini. Kira-kira kalian paling tertarik untuk ikut yang mana sih? Atau kalian pengen ikut yang mana untuk kalian catat dan kalian pelajarin? Wow, kata Yurose Muhammad semuanya nih. Wah, hebat banget. Bener-bener excited buat semua session ya. Karena aku yakin di semua session itu pasti bagus banget dan kalian akan belajar banyak banget. Nah, sebelum kita mulai ke acara kita yang utama dan juga opening ceremony hari ini, please allow me to go over a few important reminders to help us make the most of these 2 days together. First is display name atau nama kalian yang ada di Zoom. Ketika join the Zoom session, please update your display name. Kalian boleh ubah display name kalian dengan format nama, underscore, institusi atau komunitas di mana kalian berada, supaya kami bisa tahu kalian itu dari mana dan juga build a stronger sense of community throughout the festival. Misalnya di sini ada yang sudah rename jadi KGBN, lalu ada juga dari Toma ya. Nah, teman-teman boleh di-rename seperti demikian. Jadi, nama, underscore, institusi, atau komunitas kalian masing-masing. Secondly, atau yang kedua adalah virtual background. Teman-teman, seperti yang tadi aku udah bicarakan sebelumnya juga, tadi salah satu rekan kami juga sudah memberikan virtual background yang ada di kolom chat supaya kalian bisa memakai virtual background itu di acara ini. We highly encourage you to apply the official ICEF 2026 virtual background, which has been shared in the registration details and also in the chat box below. So let's make our virtual space feel like one shared home. Dan yang ketiga adalah mikrofon etiket atau kebebasan dalam menggunakan mikrofon. Nah, selama sesi, please keep your microphone on mute. Jadi tolong di-mute terlebih dahulu selama sesi agar tidak mengganggu panel session ataupun speakers yang sedang berbicara untuk juga meminimalisasi distraksi yang ada. You will be invited to unmute or to speak whenever the moderator opens the floor for questions and sharing atau Q&A. Teman-teman, nanti akan ada saatnya di mana kalian boleh menyalakan mikrofon untuk berbicara ketika kalian ingin Q&A atau kalian ingin berbicara untuk bertanya kepada speakers kami itu sangat diperbolehkan and we highly encourage you guys to do so. But please selama panel session dan juga workshop boleh di-keep mikrofonnya untuk di-mute terlebih dahulu. Dan yang terakhir yaitu session navigation. Nah, ini adalah sebuah kabar baik juga. Teman-teman nggak perlu switching rooms di manapun hari ini. Kalau misalnya kalian mau ikut opening ceremony, panel 1, workshop 1, panel 2, serta workshop 2, kalian nggak harus kemana-mana. Kalian bisa stay aja di sini, karena nanti kita akan selalu melanjutkan session-session tersebut di Zoom ini. 1 opening ceremony dan 4 discussions, 4 workshops, and 1 closing ceremony. So please stay with us and enjoy the full journey ahead. Yang kelima adalah active participation. Sebenarnya kalau ini kayaknya udah nggak usah aku elaborasi lebih banyak ya, karena dari tadi teman-teman udah aktif banget untuk ngobrol di kolom chat dan juga kasih reaction. So please kalau misalnya kalian ada pengen ngungkapin sesuatu selama panel session, please do so in the chat box selama kalian masih muted gitu ya. Kalian bisa respon juga kepada moderator kami kalau misalnya nanti mereka ada bertanya atau ingin memberikan reaksi, please feel free to do so. Yang keenam adalah e-certificate. Nantinya untuk semua participants yang eligible, kalian akan mendapatkan e-certificate. Oleh karena itu, please stay until the end of the session. Tolong kalian tetap ada di sini sampai sesi akhir untuk bisa mengisi feedback form yang akan kami berikan. Dan nantinya kami akan memberikan e-certificate bagi kalian yang telah mengisi dengan benar dan juga eligible untuk mendapatkan hal tersebut. Jadi jangan sampai lupa, jangan keluar tengah-tengah. Kalau misalnya internetnya down, please come back again because we welcome you with a very open hands. So don't worry, kalian bisa come back anytime you guys want. 7 is respect and inclusivity. Because this is a safe and welcoming space for everyone, we ask that all of us maintain a respectful and inclusive environment as we learn, network, and collaborate to shape the future of human-centered learning in Indonesia. Jadi selama sesi diharapkan untuk terus menghormati para speakers, teman-teman yang ada di sini, untuk komite dan juga panitia, supaya kita semua sama-sama merangkul acara ini dan bersama-sama belajar untuk masa depan Indonesia yang lebih baik. Dan yang pasti, yang paling terakhir adalah spread the word. Kalau misalnya kalian percaya kalau Education Festival ini bisa membawa dampak yang baik bagi Indonesia, please feel free to share the word, kasih tahu teman kalian, keluarga kalian, terus siapa lagi? Teman sekolah, teman kantor, ajakin aja semuanya untuk ikut Indonesia Community Education Festival supaya kita bisa bareng-bareng membangun bangsa ini ya teman-teman. Kalian juga jangan lupa bisa banget untuk videoin acara ini, tag us di social media at educationreform.id dan kasih tahu dunia kalau misalnya pemuda-pemudi Indonesia ini sangat-sangat excited untuk make a change in the Indonesian education system. Okay, so I think that is all for the things that I need to say untuk kalian semua dalam melakukan acara ini ke depannya. Semoga semuanya sudah jelas ya teman-teman. Kalau misalnya kalian punya pertanyaan apapun, please feel free juga untuk tanya di kolom chat. Nanti salah satu dari panitia atau komite kami juga akan membantu untuk menjawab pertanyaan dari teman-teman. Nah, to kick off this remarkable program, let us welcome the Executive Director of the Indonesian Institute for Education Reform, Mr. Rafsi Azam Hibatullah Albar, to deliver the opening remarks and introduce IIER to all of us. So, Mr. Rafsi, without any further ado, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Darlene. Selamat pagi, teman-teman semua. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time on a Saturday, nonetheless, to join us at the Indonesia Community Education Festival 2026. Untuk kedepannya saya izin dalam sesi ini menggunakan dua bahasa ya, teman-teman, dalam remark saya. Khususnya karena di sini kita juga sadar bahwa apparently cukup banyak ada teman-teman yang bukan hanya orang Indonesia, but also datang dari berbagai daerah, bukan hanya di Indonesia lebih tepatnya, tapi juga dari negara lain. Seperti itu. Bukan hanya diaspora Indonesia tentunya juga yang cukup menarik, tapi mereka yang minat dengan bidang pendidikan, tapi juga mereka tidak hanya terletak di Indonesia, mereka adalah nationals dari negara lain seperti itu. Nah, untuk itu mungkin saya izin untuk menyampaikan dalam bahasa Inggris. Mungkin juga nanti saya akan selipkan bahasa Indonesia di beberapa remarks yang sebetulnya sangat singkat ini. Teman-teman sekalian, mungkin seperti yang tadi sudah dikatakan, the Indonesian Institute for Education Reform itu sudah cukup beberapa lama ya kita ada di Indonesia. Sebenarnya masih baru sekali, kita baru 1 tahun. Our age is just 1 year, almost I think legally established almost 1 year. We are basically an institute that aims to create systemic change in the Indonesian education ecosystem from the ground up by building bridges and optimizing impact, and also in this way collaborating with one stakeholder at a time. But for today's event, as we will see, we are going to see how much of a collaboration we can foster together, how big the scope of collaboration can be in order to achieve the objectives in which we aim for Indonesia's education. And also beyond that, of course, the people that are affected by education, be those teachers, students, parents, everyone in the system, essentially. So the mission in which we embark at education reform is essentially for us to draft that systemic change that I've mentioned earlier. But the reason why we want to drive such a change is because we believe that Indonesia should have an education system where every stakeholder collaborates together to ensure that every learner, so this is mostly what we call as students, also lifelong learners, you, myself, we are all part of this community of learners. We need to have the equal opportunity to develop to our fullest potential, so that we can become whole, well-rounded individuals that can contribute to the betterment of society as a whole, and also to continue on this virtuous loop. But the mission that we embark in to really accomplish this objective is that we want to support and serve as a bridge between these different stakeholders, to become the connector between those actors who may not have previously conversed with each other, those that may not have um, had the chance to share perspectives with one another and come up with collaboration and ideas for change. And for that matter, we believe that there is an ecosystem that we should connect, and the role of education reform is actually to facilitate the interconnection of these actors, but also to support them in their individual workings as individual actors within this ecosystem. For example, we see that there are four main categories of our archetypes of actors in the Indonesian education ecosystem. Those are the funders, education institutions, communities, which is the focus of our event today, but also policymakers. We work across all the different fields of education, but more like a supporter of these actors. So we don't identify ourselves exactly to be one of the four. Rather, we are the facilitator of the four. And as you will see today, we facilitate the exchange between the four of these actors, because we are happy to share and very excited actually to share that there are different stakeholders across these different four archetypes that are present in our event today and tomorrow. With the discussions that you will be having in the workshop, hopefully you will have some sense of this, and of course to share some perspectives together. Just to give you also a bit of an understanding on how we conduct our dissemination and how we facilitate the ecosystem, we undertake our own research sometimes, and then we conduct dissemination through talk shows, and then we also sharpen the insights further through workshops as well as other engaging activities. ICEF is one of those activities that combines all of this together. As you will see, we have a very great team behind the scenes working for this event. They are focusing on the research aspect, pre and post event. But today's event will focus on number 2 and 3, which is engaging you with the insights and also having you contribute those insights back from your experiences back to the community in which we will hopefully be able to implement these amazing ideas. Before I end, I think I would like to just give you a bit of a reinstatement about the reason why we have this event in the first place. At education reform, we see that a nation's future depends really on its education system. But what is exactly an education system if it's not the people in it, be it the learners, be it the teachers, be it the parents, be it the policymakers, everyone involved in the system. But for far too long, the problem that we see is that real agency, emphasis on real agency, remains a privilege. We see that there are many what we call initiatives, perhaps, that have some sense of, engagement of, be it young people, of teachers, of parents, marginalized communities. But really, these sometimes what we see is that these programs are not made with the people themselves, or the ways in which the impacts are expected are not as great in comparison to what it can actually become. So for these 2 days, we encourage all of you to really help us think and reimagine what education can be. For these 2 days, you will see 1,600 session participants. Some of you are going to participate in all of the sessions, and I'm very excited that you have decided to do so. You will see 22 workshop facilitators. You will meet if you're joining us for the whole 2 days, you're gonna see mostly all the 22 of them. You're gonna see 16 speakers and moderators across these 10 event sessions in order for us to together reimagine education. So I hope that we can enjoy together this event, and I hope that you are all able to not only become a part of this event, but also more than that, transfer the knowledge that you have from this event, be inspired from the talks and also from the workshops the insights that you get from your peers in the workshop breakout rooms, so that later on you can influence change in ways that you feel are most appropriate, in ways that are contextualized to your own environments, in ways that would positively impact Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rafsi, for that wonderful opening remarks. Teman-teman, boleh kita kasih tepuk tangan reactionnya untuk Kak Rafsi, because I think this is a very wonderful introduction of IIER and also the Indonesian Community Education Festival 2026, why we do what we do, and of course, we want to make a change for the better of Indonesia. And thank you so much for the enthusiasm from all of the participants here that you have shared with us this morning. We are all very excited for 2 days ahead. Aku yakin teman-teman akan belajar banyak. Dari tadi Kak Rafsi juga udah bilang akan ada 1.600 lebih participants dari all over Indonesia. Dan sebagai salah satu anak muda Indonesia, aku senang banget ada banyak teman-teman yang mempunyai visi yang sama untuk negara kita. Nextnya, kita juga ingin mengundang the Executive Director of Yayasan Plan International Indonesia, Miss Dini Widyastuti, to deliver the opening remarks. So, Miss Dini, without any further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. Well, distinguished friends and partners, it is both an honor and a rather tough job for me, actually, to speak on Saturday morning about children's rights, sustainable development, and also education. I was wondering actually last night, who would come at 9 in the morning on Saturday? Oh my goodness, it's 110. So this just to show if I see, I think most of you are young, definitely younger than me. Um, uh, so this is amazing to see the enthusiasm, to see that so many young people are here today this morning to think together, not just to listen, right? To share their ideas and and experience how to make Indonesian educations better. Imagine Indonesian education, as Mas Rafi said. Before I start, I'd like to thank the Indonesia Institute for Education Reform for this honorable opportunity. Mas Rafsi, thank you for inviting me. Teman-teman, saya juga ngomongnya gado-gado ya, mostly in English, but maybe some important points in Indonesian as well, just to highlight. I think one thing, this is bukan for, to show off or something. But I think as Indonesian, Indonesia, I think is one of the least understood countries in terms, not just in terms of the country per se, but also the position and the view of its people and young people in particular in this. So I think we do need to show the world, and one way of showing it is to have present what we're thinking and convey our messages in global language as well. Sadly, Indonesia has not become a global language, right? So I think we need to be able to converse in both. Friends, I don't know whether you know this song, right? I would like to open, I'm not going to sing, but just this statement, because I am tasked to talk about from opportunity to equity, advancing children's right as foundation of sustainable development. I mean, rightly so, because as representative of Plan International Indonesia, we are focusing on contributing to the fulfillment of children's rights and actually also youth rights. So it's extend, what we're doing is from 0 to 24, 29 years old. Yeah, so most roughly age, right? 29, 24, right? And most of you are here. So this is really a space for us to share our journey and some of our thinking as well. But back to this song, I don't know whether you know Whitney Houston, right? Because it's not sustainable development. I was thinking, okay, sustainability, it's about future. So she says, she sang like, I believe the children are our future. Not sure how many of you actually know this song, because maybe you're too young to know this amazing singer. However, I'm sure you are all agree with this statement, right? That the future is inseparable part of the sustainable development already back in 2012 in the global leaders convened in Rio. Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, to shape a sustainable future. It produced an outcome entitled The Future We Want. The document was the foundations of the Millennium Development Goals and then later Sustainable Development Goals. I'll ask later when the slide needs to be on. In the document, there are ample of paragraphs that outline commitments and affirmation to the fulfillment of the right to education for all, including indigenous people, people with disability, and people living in rural areas. Why I mention people living in rural areas? Because we from Plan Indonesia, we work a lot in rural areas and peri-urban recently, but a lot in rural areas. And later you see how it is really important to focus on this. Because when we talk about equity, one thing that characterize Indonesian education and economy and many other things in Indonesia is the disparity between rural and urban, not just between gender, boys and girls, men and women, but the location, the geographical location as well. So in that, the future we want, there's a resolution to improve the capacity of education system to prepare people to pursue sustainable development through teachers training, development of sustainability curriculum, development of training programs that prepare students for careers in fields related to sustainability. So they talk already about green jobs, yeah, and preparing students for careers in green economy. So these are not new things. So since 2012, we've been talking about that, even before that. But we'll see later where we are. So the global leaders at that time, um, as written in the document, well, there's a comment about how about AI. Yeah, not yet. In 2012, they haven't publicly widely talk about AI, but we'll come to that, of course. They said that the younger generations are the custodian of the future, and the contribution of children and youth is vital to the achievement of sustainable development. This is really linked with what Rafsi opening that about the agency that education's about depends on its people, right? So it already says that. So throughout all the history and discussion about sustainability and education, it is clear that young people, younger generation, adalah memang penjaga dari masa depan sebuah bangsa dan partisipasinya menjadi sangat penting ya. So the connection between children's right, education, and sustainable development goal is both foundational and transformative. There's a table here that just say like some of the goals in the SDGs and the connection to children's right. I'm not going to read one by one, but as you can see, SDGs 4 is, solely about quality education. But I think when we talk about SDGs and education, it's not just SDG 4, but other SDGs also an integral part of the education achievement. On the other hand, also the education providing or align with the other SDGs here on climate, reducing inequalities, gender equality, health and well-being, peace, justice, and strong institutions. If you go to the next one, next slide, please. Jadi sangat berkaitan ya teman-teman ya. SDG bukan cuma SDG 4 yang bicara tentang education yang terkait dengan sustainable development and education, tapi bagaimana dia saling kait-mengait dan saling berkontribusi. Nah ini, this is the cycle of education, rights, and equality in a sense that how education empower and uplifts, but also to that education is like a fulfillment of children's rights to protect and develop to the full potential of children and young people. That can also, if we're talking about equity in education, you're talking about gender equity also in education. As we know, in many places in the world, girls are still left behind, young women are still left behind, even though the performance might be or have already been for a number of for decades are better than boys and men, especially in reading in most cases. Yeah, so that contributes to gender equality and economic development. So the UN Convention of Rights of the Child established education as fundamental rights. Fulfilling this right ensures children's survival, protection, and participation, laying foundation for human capital development. So human capital development will not be realized just with survival and protection, but participation as really the essence of what the festival is about, that these 2 days is really important as the foundation of human capital development. A 2023 study in emerging markets found causality, yeah, saling berpengaruh between education level, economic freedom, and gender inequality, lower gender inequality, I mean. Higher education reduce gender inequality, greater gender equality improve education access as well. So it's like a circle. Next one. Next slide, please. In Plan, we work a lot with young people and then also our CSO partners for the campaign and then actions program to prevent child marriage, child and early marriage. Yeah. So in Indonesia, as you know, is child marriage is the one before 19. So it has been increased. Yeah. Uh, but this table is to show the connection between the average age of schooling and child marriage. So you see in the areas where the years of schooling are higher, like DKI Jakarta, Yogyakarta, also the prevalence of child marriage, the rate is lower in general. And but where plan works, for example, in NTT and NTB, where average years of schooling is 8.48 years. So it means that at the secondary education at SMP level, many of the students and mostly girls drop out. So there's also quite high child marriage rates, up to 25%. This is also the situation in the world, the countries that have higher attainment in education, schooling, years of schooling, also have a lower child marriage and higher female labor participations and better economy. Yeah. Okay. So as you see that there's all this interconnectedness between educations, child marriage, gender equality, and also economic sustainable development. So the World Bank estimated that closing gender gaps in education and labor participation could add $28 trillion dollars to the global GDP. In Indonesia, specifically in 2024, the estimation is that improving learning outcomes could raise GDP per capita up to 28% over a generation. Nations with low gender inequality like Denmark, Sweden, so the Scandinavian countries, they rank among the highest economic competitiveness and innovation. Conversely, countries with high gender inequality like Yemen, Afghanistan face persistent poverty and weak economic growth. Jadi kalau yang negara-negara Skandinavia yang gender inequality indeksnya itu rendah, dia bagus juga secara ekonomi. Sementara yang gender equality-nya tinggi, Yemen, Afghanistan, itu juga tingkat kemiskinan dan perkembangan ekonominya juga rendah. Nah, Indonesia gimana? Indonesia tuh di semua indeks, coba nih teman-teman lihat ya, always in the middle, tengah-tengah mulu. Kayak lagu dangdut Indonesia ya, selalu like sedang-sedang terus gitu ya. Whatever index ya, under gender equality, poverty, any index ya, you name it. So again, just want to stress that better gender equality expands labor force, boosts productivity, and strengthens resilience. And each additional year of schooling, BPS predicted that increase individual earnings by 8 to 10%. So imagine, so you can see that the individual earnings in the areas where the years of schooling is low is also lower. Okay, so can we go to the next one? Next slide, please. Okay. This is yeah, so this is access, participation, and this is when we talk about equity, how do we measure equity? First thing is about access and participation. We think that access is finished sometimes. Udah nggak masalah ya, akses pendidikan di Indonesia. Partisipasi is quite it's high at the primary level, secondary level, mulai turun, and then senior secondary, and then go down. But the problem is that the disparity between a region, between the national average and Java, high up there. So this is the average of the 6 provinces in Java, the data, and NTT, where we work as planned. Primary is okay. Then junior secondary drop. Senior secondary only 48%. Ya, in senior secondary, jadi 48% dari anak-anak usia di sekolah apa namanya SMA itu masih bersekolah. Nah, luckily, I mean in NTT Plan Indonesia have at least like 30,000 sponsored children. And then their rate of net participations rate-nya itu 97%, over 90%. So we're happy looking at that data for our communities, but this is the reality that in that province and even at the national level, it's 61%. Yeah, so we can see what kind of human capital you can Indonesia produce with that kind of human capital and then education. Okay, next one. Okay. Now, how about the other indicators? So the other indicators is learning outcomes. I'm sure you know about PISA, and this is the regional comparison to show again disparity between regions, between Java and TT, and then the OECD average. Now, Indonesia has these ambitions to be part of the OECD country, but in OECD country, reading the score is 487. In Java, already in Java, yeah, 390. In Nusa Tenggara Timur, 335. In all reading, mathematics, science, we are below than the OECD. So, ambisinya tinggi, tapi kenyataannya seperti ini gitu ya. So this is really sad. There's a lot of things to catch up. So really what IIER is trying to do to change the system, education system, I think this is really, a wake up call. This is something that, yeah, it is. It has to be changed, right? Okay, next one. Okay, the other one is teacher-student ratio. Again, this is regional comparison. I won't go through that, but you'll see that Java and NTT is actually quite the same. What does it mean? It means then, wow, udah bagus ya NTT. Bagus loh, sama loh kayak Jawa. Beda sama Papua. It's very different from Papua. But the thing is, it's not just about the ratio, but also the quality of the teachers. This is where teachers training, as has been mentioned before, is a fundamental part of education achievement, and the systems with that. Okay, next one. Next slide, please. Okay, so like it or not, when we talk about education in Indonesia, there are other challenges other than teachers' quality, other than just the PISA performance, and this is really a fundamental part of why the participation is low, why dropout rate is high. Look at the situation. This is the basic things that many of our students have to go past, without transportation to go to school, crossing river like this, especially during the rainy seasons. Mau ke sekolah aja kayaknya menyambung nyawa banget gitu kan. Susah banget anak-anak kita gitu. Banyak apalagi di daerah 3T. Gedung sekolahnya seperti itu gitu. This is not conducive for learning. And within the context of climate change, with extreme heat, imagines to study, to learn under the thin roof. Um, this is critical, and there's no water as well, especially now that is El Nino and the extreme heat and drought. Ini anak-anak di NTT, they have to go to fetch the water before they go to school, and after they go to school. So actually, there is a data that shows when the drought is intense, there is a higher dropout rate for girls, especially because girls are the one who fetch the water mostly. That's the traditional role when we talk about norms and etc. And then the conditions of the road. It is already a limitations to go to school. So infrastructure inequity is really massive, apparent, plus norms and social aspect that in some areas that education is not seen as, like really crucial to the development and the growth of human capital. As long as you can read and write, especially for girls in some area, that's enough. That's why they drop out of school in SMP level. Okay. Also, friends, for Indonesia, I think we do really need to have education reform, and we do need to invest on our education. The three area, the isolated area, the small islands areas of Indonesia, like we see the data from NTT and Papua, and the rural areas should be priority for equity focused intervention. Indonesia need to prioritize investment in teachers availability and capacity, scholarship for poor and marginalized students, invest in infrastructure, and enable better access to school for rural and children with disability, such as transport, internet, and clean water and sanitation. Tackling gender norms that limits access to education is also key. We need to go back to basic literacy, numeracy, but also to be able to compete digital literacy about AI, how to use AI as tool, etc. If you go to the next slide, that will be my last slide. I think this, okay. This is just a little bit to sharing what we are doing within this context. If we go back to SDGs, sharing what Plan is doing in terms of SDGs 4, which is like representations of what I just said, what we need to do to invest. And I'm sure there's a lot of stakeholders who are doing this already. But we all need to, put all our hands together to make sure that our children attend education at least 12 years, even better, 13 years, right? Preparing them to go into primary school. Provide a university scholarship in collaboration with universities. We have some collaboration with universities, for example, with IPMI. We are also part of co-coordinating agency for global partnership of education in Indonesia. This is as part of as what we are doing, trying to be part of the ecosystem, coordinating the different stakeholders. So in a sense, we are doing a similar thing, Mas Rafsi, on the education part. On SDGs 3, even though it's about health and well-being, it is really aligned and connected to the achievement of education in general. We have a young health program that promotes healthy lifestyle choices for students. We work a lot of mental health issues, promoting digital well-being, because mental health issues is really the issues that young people say is the, high up in their agenda, and then really affect also their education. SDGs 5, gender equality, because it's not enough just to be a participants of education. Girls, children, and young people need to build their agency. That's why we have Girls Take Over campaign. Maybe some of you know this campaign. And we have a program where we build the confidence and also expanding the horizon of our children in communities where we work. We have girls football, again, challenging gender norms that girls can do many things, including football, including leading. vocational training on digital skill, campaign against child early and forced marriage, on SDG 6 on water, because it's really essential to the operational of the education itself and the learning process, especially in rural communities, and SDG 13, climate education to prepare our young people to be more resilient, to give them opportunity for developing a youth climate actions, so they are not just a participant and observer, but they are an active part of the development. Friends, advancing children's rights is not a peripheral agenda. It is the core strategy for sustainable development. Jadi kalau kita bicara pemenuhan hak anak itu bukan cuma eh, tempelan ya, tapi betul-betul adalah strategi inti dari pemenuhan untuk mencapai sustainable development, pembangunan berkelanjutan. If we want societies that are resilient to climate shocks, inclusive in opportunity, and equitable across generations, then we must start where it matters most, with children. Harus mulainya dari anak-anak dulu kan, nggak bisa langsung tato mahasiswa ya. So kalau kita mau yang masyarakat yang climate resilient terhadap climate shock, inklusif, dan kemudian juga bisa ya menjawab tantangan-tantangan di dunia pekerjaan termasuk juga dengan teknologi. We must start with the very young one, with the children. So let us commit today to a future where every child's rights is respected, protected, and fulfilled. We need to remember too that children are not passive actors in this journey in education. They are active agents of change. I would like to finish with the song again. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Right? It says already. I hope you agree with me that indeed we should listen to them and let them lead the way. Thank you. Terima kasih, teman-teman.
Thank you so much Ibu Dini Widyastuti dari Plan Indonesia. Teman-teman, boleh kita kasih reaction terbaik kita. Ibu Dini, thank you so much for reminding us that children are indeed active actors, not passive ones, and we should encourage them to actually lead the change and make the change in this country. Thank you so much sekali lagi Ibu Dini, dan juga untuk Mr. Rafsi karena juga tadi sudah memberikan opening remarks yang keren banget di hari ini. And with that, our opening ceremony comes to a close. Thank you once again. But before we move on, we have one quick but very important reminder, teman-teman. To receive your e-certificate, please make sure to fill out the feedback form that will be shared in the chat box shortly. This is a mandatory requirement, terutama kalau teman-teman mau mendapatkan e-certificate nantinya. You guys can also look at the screen because there's a QR there, and also there's also a link that you can click and a link that you can try to put in on your phone or on your laptops, dan bisa di fill in di sana supaya kalian bisa mendapatkan e-certificate nantinya. Teman-teman, acara ini juga aku yakin tidak akan berjalan tanpa partner-partner kami yang hebat, dan teman-teman kami juga encourage kalian untuk make the most out of this event. Make the most out of this network. Teman-teman boleh connect dengan sesama like-minded people, and I believe you guys can make a change for tomorrow. So please take a few minutes to share your thoughts and reflections dari feedback form ini, because your feedback means a lot for us and will help us shape the future of ICEF and also Indonesian Institute for Education Reform. Teman-teman, please be honest and just share your thoughts on the opening ceremony. Dan sebentar lagi kita akan masuk ke panel session 1 yang nantinya akan dipimpin oleh kolik saya. Tetapi untuk sementara ini kita akan mendapatkan sedikit break dari antara sesi sekitar 10-15 menit dan akan dimulai kembali setelah break tersebut selesai. Jadi teman-teman, if you guys wanna grab some drink, kalau kalian mau ke toilet, please feel free to do so after filling out the feedback form for the opening ceremony. Terima kasih teman-teman, boleh diisi feedback formnya dan juga boleh take a break for a little while. Thank you so much everyone.